My wife texted me late in the evening, working late tonight. Don't wait up. The message felt ordinary, almost rehearsed, the same words she had used many times before. I stared at the screen, not angry, not surprised, just tired of pretending. Something about the timing felt careless, like she expected obedience instead of trust. I didn't question her. I didn't ask for details. I simply replied, "No problem. I'm not alone either." I placed my phone down and calmly continued setting the table. The house was quiet, but my thoughts were sharp. This wasn't a game or a bluff. It was preparation. 30 minutes later, I heard her car pull into the driveway far earlier than expected. The front door slammed open with force, footsteps heavy with fury. She stormed inside, ready to confront me, until she suddenly stopped, frozen mid-step, staring at the woman seated beside me. Her anger drained instantly as recognition set in. Sitting across from me was her boss's wife, calm, composed, and watching everything closely. The room felt colder, heavier, as if the air itself had shifted. My wife opened her mouth, then closed it again, unsure what to say. The woman beside me stood up slowly and smiled, not warmly, but deliberately. "So," she said softly, "how was the date with my husband?" Silence crashed into the room like a wave. My wife's face turned pale, her confidence evaporating in seconds. She tried laughing it off, claiming misunderstanding, coincidence, anything to escape the moment. But the truth had already arrived, and it didn't need repetition. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't argued. I had simply invited the right person to witness the truth. Exposure doesn't shout. It waits patiently until denial collapses on its own. The boss's wife explained calmly how patterns had revealed themselves over time. Late nights, overlapping schedules, shared lies delivered too smoothly to be innocent. She spoke without bitterness, relying only on facts. My wife stared at the floor, every excuse she'd prepared falling apart before being spoken. I watched quietly, not satisfied, not cruel, just finished. There was no pleasure in seeing someone unravel. There was only confirmation. The woman thanked me for my honesty and for giving her the clarity she deserved long ago. Then she gathered her things and left, dignity intact. My wife collapsed into a chair, shaking, asking how long I had known. I answered honestly, long enough to stop believing words over actions. That truth hurt her more than anger ever could. Betrayal doesn't end relationships, exposure does. And once exposed, nothing ever fits the same way again, no matter how desperately someone tries to rearrange it. She begged me to talk, to explain, to give her a chance to fix everything. Her voice cracked as she reached for sympathy she no longer controlled. I listened calmly, not because I was undecided, but because endings deserve clarity. I told her, "Trust doesn't collapse suddenly. It erodes slowly until one moment makes it undeniable." That moment had arrived. I explained that my reply wasn't revenge. It was acceptance. Acceptance that she had chosen secrecy over honesty. I didn't insult her. I didn't raise my voice. I simply told her I was done. That sentence carried more weight than shouting ever could. The house felt empty despite both of us standing there. She realized then that panic couldn't reverse preparation. Consequences don't disappear when tears arrive. They arrive quietly, firmly, and permanently. The silence between us wasn't cruel. It was final. And finality doesn't argue back, no matter how loudly regret tries to speak afterward. In the days that followed, the truth spread quickly but quietly. Her workplace grew tense. His marriage collapsed. Stories stopped aligning. I didn't participate in any of it. When you step away cleanly, chaos has nowhere to attach. My wife tried reaching out repeatedly, apologizing, blaming stress, confusion, loneliness. I listened once, then set boundaries. Closure doesn't require repeated conversations. It requires consistency. Friends asked how I stayed so calm through everything. I told them the truth. Calm comes when you stop fighting reality. I wasn't shocked by her betrayal. I was exhausted by pretending it didn't exist. That exhaustion ended the moment truth entered the room. I focused on rebuilding routines, protecting peace, and moving forward without lies. People think revenge brings closure. It doesn't. Clarity does. And clarity arrived that night without drama, leaving nothing left to debate, defend, or justify ever again. Her boss's wife later thanked me again, not for confrontation, but for restraint. We didn't stay in contact. That chapter closed cleanly for both of us. Meanwhile, my wife struggled with the sudden loss of control. She expected anger, negotiation, maybe forgiveness. She wasn't prepared for calm distance. Distance forces reflection in ways arguments never can. I moved out shortly after, not to punish her, but to protect myself. Packing felt lighter than expected. I wasn't leaving love, I was leaving deception. Each box I sealed felt like closing a door that had already shut emotionally. Silence replaced tension. Sleep returned. Focus sharpened. I learned that peace isn't something you negotiate with someone who lies. It's something you choose when you finally stop explaining yourself. That choice reshapes everything quietly, without applause, without witnesses, and without regret, once it settles fully into place. People often asked if I had planned everything. The truth was simpler. I paid attention. Patterns reveal themselves to those who stop making excuses for them. I didn't need proof to rage. I needed proof to leave correctly. That distinction mattered. Watching my wife freeze when she saw who sat beside me wasn't revenge. It was consequence meeting timing. I didn't feel powerful. I felt finished. Finished questioning my instincts. Finished accepting half-truths. Finished staying silent to keep a peace that never existed. That moment taught everyone present a quiet lesson. Lies don't survive witnesses, especially calm ones. The room didn't erupt. It didn't explode. It went silent. And silence, when filled with truth, is far louder than screaming. That silence stayed with all of us long after the door closed behind the last guest, reshaping memories, choices, and future boundaries none of us would ever ignore again. Looking back, that text about working late wasn't the betrayal. It was the reveal. My reply didn't create chaos. It exposed it. When my wife stormed in furious and froze in shock, she learned something irreversible. Control disappears the moment truth enters the room. I didn't win anything. I didn't celebrate. I simply chose alignment between reality and self-respect. The boss's wife standing up and smiling wasn't cruelty. It was closure delivered cleanly. Some endings arrive loudly. Others arrive seated calmly at your table, waiting patiently. I chose the second. And once that choice is made, there's no going back to pretending. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was instructional. It taught everyone present that calm awareness outlasts deception, and dignity never needs to shout to be heard. That night ended more than a marriage. It ended my tolerance for lies forever, without regret, without apology, and without ever raising my voice.